welcome to F Wonderful, the first and only Formula One podcast on the internet. That's obviously not true. This is the millionth, but it's time. My name is Matt. I am your host and your only host today. Typically, I'll be doing this podcast with a co-host or a guest, and yet no one could make it today for our inaugural podcast. So I thought I'd just go ahead and hammer it out on my own, which I think is going to be okay. Formula One. I am a relatively new convert to Formula One. The Drive to Survive obviously was a big deal for all of us who are fans in the US, new fans, because it became this massive thing for all of us during 2020 and beyond, and people who caught on to it just started to love the sport. So I'm not going to wash over the fact that it was, in fact, Drive to Survive on the old Netflix that got me interested in Formula One. I should say, though, that I was never, ever, ever interested in driving in race cars, in going fast. None of that was interesting to me up until now. I'm in my 40s now, and new things have emerged and new interests that I can't necessarily do anymore. I never fancied myself a football player, a baseball player, or anything like that. Certainly don't think I'm a Formula One driver, but that's why I like it so much. It's a sport that I could never aspire to. And so it is purely aspirational from the standpoint of the vast wealth it takes to get into the sport excites me like crazy, because it's a dream of mine to have a company worthy of having a sticker on a Formula One car, let alone the name of a Formula One team. So these things excite me. But as my interest in the sport grew, it became so fascinating to watch these drivers who are the best at what they do. Not just the best at what they do, they're the best drivers in the world. Just drivers. It's bonkers. They're so good. And so now it's been fun to walk back a little bit and see, previous years from when I was interested and get to know the people who came before. And it has become an obsession, an exciting obsession. And so thank you to everyone who is coming along on this new obsession journey with me and with us, those who join me on the podcast in the future. So today let's talk about Miami, that just happened, and then let's discuss Imola, which is coming up soon. Miami, this is the second year for Miami, and while it was super fun to watch, and while the sort of the run up was a bit much for a lot of us, the thing that's driving me crazy about Miami is that everyone, including the big podcasts, including Formula Y, or what's the other one? The main Formula One podcast. I'm blanking on it at the moment, but everybody is discussing that this was a boring race. Now, as someone who is new to this whole thing, but has become a massive fan, and as an adult male who owns businesses, who is self-employed, who has grown a lot in the last 10 years, it's such a childish thing to say. What do you want? You want crashes? You want NASCAR explosions? What do you want? What are you talking about, boring race? What's boring about watching 20 of the most skilled drivers on Earth drive an incredibly exciting track? And while there weren't a tremendous number of overtakes and there weren't any crashes, there was nothing that would say that was exciting. to me, the excitement is just watching. I love the race. Watching Max go from 9 to P1 was insane. Watching that moment where Max passed Checo in an incredibly respectful way on both sides was exciting. As a person who's loved Red Bull from the beginning, to watch them not crash, that was exciting. Incredible. I loved it. Watching Alonso take third in a car that he loves, his attitude, his demeanor, everything, watching him be so strategic and calculated and helpful to his teammate, that was exciting. The whole thing was exciting. And we're talking about, we get one race every 17 weeks. It seems like it anyway. This is so annoying. We get back-to-backs coming up here with Imola and Monaco, which is super exciting. But there's so few and far between over the course of a calendar year that I don't care if nothing happens, but something did happen. Every single race is a moment to show what each team is about, how they're growing, how they're not growing, what's changing, what's not changing. That, to me, is exciting. And so I have to say a gigantic screw you and you know what off to anyone who thinks that was a boring race. If you thought that was boring, then you're not watching. That's what I think. All right, let's move on. So something funny that I thought about was Alex Albon. So we're having a little bit of New Belgium Vice IPA. It's kind of their fancy Miami Vice IPA in honor of Miami. So cheers to Miami. So Alex Albon, I love him. I loved him since the beginning. I was really bummed out that he didn't get the seat in Red Bull. I feel like early in the year, it was 50-50 in sense of something could have gone right, it could have gone wrong. Keep a seat, don't keep a seat, and it all went wrong. But he's a good driver. He's a great guy, funny guy, sweet guy. But listening to his radio communication to his team is like, bro, you're dead last, or basically dead last. And he's complaining about his tires and complaining about this, complaining about that. And I get it that you want to present yourself as caring. You know, you care about the team, you care about what's going on, you care about the car, you care about the thing. But I think, you know, when you're in the third, fourth, fifth race and you're the worst team, take some time to learn, take some time to enjoy it, take some time to work your heart off, but also to you know, build some sort of like team rapport. It sounded like he was just berating the mechanics and his, you know, and the team principal and everyone who he was talking to. Was just, it was really unattractive. Not that I'm attracted, would be, I guess, indifferent. But it's not stop complaining. They're very complainy, these F1 drivers. That's probably the thing that I like the least, is they are as if soccer players were the only player on their team. Complaining, they fall down, they hurt themselves, they get boo-boos, they drink out of straws, which is just, I hate that. I hate the straw sucking. Drives me crazy. But anyways, that was just my little rant on Alex. But I love him. He's great. But hey, bro, just chill out, learn, get better. Lean on these people who are on your team. So what do we got next? Oh, well, okay, so here's another thing that was driving me crazy. I got to shut off this. There we go. By trade, I am a commercial filmmaker, writer, director, and I have drives everywhere. And sometimes they turn on and make buzzy noises. So that's good now. So the other thing that was driving me crazy about Miami was that people kept on talking about Checo, Sergio Perez people kept on saying these things like, you know, Checo's a really good driver, but, Checo's really great, but constantly comparing him to Max, which is a completely unfair comparison. Max is on another level. Look, we're watching right now a moment in time. This is the years of, where we got to watch Phil and Tiger battling it out. Like, this is where we're at. We're in a really unique and amazing time in racing in Formula One, where we have some of the best racers of all time in the fastest cars, in the hardest cars of all time, crushing it. And to compare, to say Checo wasn't doing this or that, and Max is just that much further ahead, is so unfair to him. He won the sprint in Baku. He won the race in Baku. Back-to-back races, basically, which is insanity. And to take anything away from him is crazy. I think that Max had a better strategy, and he is obviously the better driver. He's the best driver to come along in probably a long time. Maybe the greatest, if not one of the greatest of all times. But that's Checo's teammate. It's like laying out two $100 bills next to each other and deciding which one was prettier, and it's unfair to him. And also, this is Red Bull's chance to have a constant, a perennial, that's not the right word, but just a constant 1-2. They're in the best place possible. And to let them race is amazing. But we know, that Max drives the car to win in a way that is like he's willing it to win. It's insane how good he is. Many of these guys who drive are more like finesse drivers. They are like violin players. Max plays the timpani. He bangs it. He bangs it perfectly, but he bangs it hard. So I love those guys. I love Checo. I love everybody. It's an amazing year to be watching. And this Miami race was no different. A little bit of crazy talk right now about Nick DeVries getting the boot from AlphaTauri, and Danny Rick taking over. Okay, fine. It's great talk. I love the idea. We all love Danny Ricciardo. He should have, as my friend Brian, who will join us on the podcast many times, Brian said that, Danny should just put his big boy pants on and take in the number 2 seat at Red Bull. And I couldn't agree more, because leaving Red Bull to go to try to bring up a garbage team was the wrong choice. And also, I have a feeling that, look, I don't know any of these guys personally, but I spent a lot of time listening to all the things, and I love Danny Ricciardo a lot, as everyone does, but he definitely has fallen in love with Hollywood. He's fallen in love with the whole thing after Drive to Survive, and he's got tons of friends in LA, and he lives there sometimes, and so his heart wasn't 100% in it, and that's okay, because my heart's not 100% in all the things I do all the time either. But I think that this year off is going to be like Alonso's couple of years off. I think that he's going to get a chance to relax, remember why he loves driving again, and I think that that's going to be a huge deal and a huge moment for him. And he's not going to take over the seat at AlphaTauri because AlphaTauri wants to win, because they're not going to win. I mean, Yuki's doing a great job. He's getting, he's top 10, top 11. He's doing a great job with that car. He's a really, really good driver. But they're not a team that's designed to win or necessarily challenge. They're designed to grow drivers to potentially be at Red Bull. That's the point of AlphaTauri. And so putting Danny Rick in there would be great. It would be fun for us to watch, but it wouldn't be serving the purpose of the team necessarily. So if they do it, it's probably only because things go south and kind of sour with Nick DeVries, which is fine, because honestly, he looks like he doesn't care, but that just might be his face. I don't know. But I think that it was unfair to put him into the seat after one race of just being like, yeah, this is the kid, But the thing is, equally, it would be unfair to yank him, because AlphaTauri is... The thing is, I think they say that 3 years is what it takes for a driver to really get comfortable in Formula One, and in particular, comfortable probably in a new team. But with DeVries, I mean, this is his first year. Let's give him some time, because I think he could be a great driver. and let him and Yuki kind of, work it out. So I hope he stays. As of yet in 2023, we don't have a Latifi, a guy who's crashing into everybody and ruining everybody's lives. So it's great. So far, mostly everybody is kind of having issues on their own. And that's good, with the exception of Australia, obviously. But that was a weird decision from up high, which was stupid to even do what they did and then see all these cars crash. It's crazy. So, but we'll get to discussing. I think after Imola, we'll talk a little bit more about what is going on at Alpine. Like, are they really a contender? McLaren, again, as Brian said, which he should just be here to say these things, but he said McLaren designed a tractor this year, and it's really true. That car is absolute garbage with two amazing drivers who could be contending for points. But they're just not. They're just driving this rickety, boring plastic car around the track. It's rough to watch Lando drive something so terrible. So that's the 2 cents of everything. But with this coming up next week, we've got Imola, which is super exciting. It's just fun to have only 1 week off and then a new race. So with the Italian Grand Prix being the next thing, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to go, because we've been doing Australia and Baku and these other races with history, in Miami with no history, but a really cool track and just an exciting sort of fanfare with it being an American race and everything like that. It's going to be fun to go back to the roots of Formula One, and to go back to an old race with no fanfare and just a track, and that's all we got. That'll be exciting. And so one of the things that I think will emerge too is other people, or rather other teams, who haven't really been in the points or doing anything that's really necessarily remarkable. And also, we're going to see some upgrades from the cars coming into Italy. So there's gonna be a lot of things happening that's going to be interesting and cool and new. And this is going to, and this is a proper track in the sense of it's not a street track and it's not a new track. And so something with history that the drivers know. It'll be interesting to see who emerges as the teams and the drivers who have something to prove in this next one. But typically would have a conversation about, the next race and some predictions for who's gonna win, who's gonna make it. I'm just trying to think, Dax's new podcast, which is really great. Listen to it's F1 with DRS. Dax Shepard's new one with some of his friends, where they geek out. They do a 10th place prediction, which I think is great, which is super cool, super fun, because that 10th place position is something that, we don't get to see a lot sometimes on TV when you're not watching F1 TV, if you're just watching the broadcast. But it's so important that those last few places of getting into the points. I was thinking we do it kind of boring, but let's do 1, 2, 3. Who's going to get who in Italy is going to be, 1, 2, 3. And I mean, I think it's Max, Checo, Alonso. I think that's just how it's going to be for a long time, and especially a track like this. All these guys have this experience. We're driving there, and Max is the best right now, and I think that's what we're gonna see. So yeah, I'm excited for this race. I'm excited for a back-to-back Italy and Monaco. It'll be a lot of fun. So with that, thank you for listening to the inaugural episode of F Wonderful. And I'm excited to have these conversations every week where we'll kind of recap the last race, discuss the preparations, or discuss the next race and our predictions. And yeah, I love this sport. It's the best. It's exciting. It's aspirational. It's the way I want to live. So here we go. Let's go. Excited for Imola, and we'll see you all on the next one. Oh, I should come up with a tag. I can't do. Dax has the perfect one. He's like, I encourage you to push, 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 push. I kind of want to say, and when in doubt, box, 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 box. That could be okay. I don't know. We'll come up with something. All right. Bye.